Ghost Rider Final Vengeance, issue number 6 from Marvel Comics. This is the end of this little mini series, and I will be spoiling all of this. So, yeah, just a heads up. Oh boy. Okay. So, for anyone who's unfamiliar with this, super quick recap. Spirit of Vengeance left Johnny Blaze. It went to the Hood of all characters, and he used the powers to take over Chicago. He made a deal with the vampires that they would like work together, but he ended up kind of betraying them. And so in return, the vampires ended up killing his wife and daughter and turning them into vampires. And now Johnny Blaze has shown up with Zeb to confront the Hood, and that's how this issue starts, with them battling each other out. So Zeb goes to go do some Zeb things while Johnny and the Hood battle it out. There is this weird moment where the Hood pops up from behind Johnny and shoots him in the back of the head, point blank range, but Johnny ducks, yet there's still like a mini explosion. So I'm like, how has this blast like not like concussed Johnny, or like, I mean, look how close that is. That's like literally right above the back of his head, and yet it does nothing to him. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, the fight's kind of lame. It's just they kind of shoot at each other a couple of times until eventually the Hood uses his chains to wrap up around Johnny and just tells him how he's gonna tear his body apart. But before that can happen, Zeb does a spell which brings a bunch of crows to create a dome around the two. And so Johnny is able to talk to Zarathos, the Spirit of Vengeance, and basically just kind of tells him that you're the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Every moment with you is a living hell, but we have to give this another go. And Zarathos explains, I left you because you are weak. You were trying to steer me toward mercy when I ride the highway of vengeance. Johnny's like, no, you stupid. That's not what makes me weak. That's what makes me strong. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just thought this was kind of weird, but eventually Mephisto shows up, and Mephisto smacks Johnny away, tells him that you whine and you weep, like I gave you a gift and you call it a curse. Maybe it's time for the blacktop to claim you. And like these like hands come out of the ground and start trying to drag him underneath. Meanwhile, with the Hood, his vampire wife, vampire daughter show up, and Mephisto says, do what you promised me. Punish them, kill them, reap. And he can't. And so instead, he begs Mephisto to turn them back into humans and says, I'll give you anything you want, including my soul. And so Mephisto turns them into humans, and then he grabs the Hood, rips his the skin off his face, and then sends him to hell, where he basically becomes a slave. And then Johnny escapes the hands trying to drag him down and say, hey, look, the spirits, they're not done with me, and neither are you. And Mephisto's like, yeah, some of Zarathos remains within you, but I also sense some of you within Zarathos. So we're at a crossroads, and this is where the devil makes his deal. So let's make a new contract. You belong to each other, but you work for me. And so we see the Hood down into hell, basically being a slave, and talking about how greed might have poisoned him, but in the end, it was love that damned him. And meanwhile, Johnny rides on his bike, says, I'm Johnny Blaze and I'm Zarathos. And each of us is hollow and distorted about the other, but together we're the Ghost Rider. And then we see him driving Danny Ketch's motorcycle because I guess the artist has no idea that Johnny rides a different motorcycle than this, and that this motorcycle is Danny's. So here's the thing. One, this is like just super anticlimactic. I wonder if this is just a problem with Benjamin Percy, because I've complained about this in his Ghost Rider volume, where the end of an arc just keeps on being very anticlimactic. It's like you're building up for this big showdown, and then the big showdown never really happens. Or it'll be like 1 or 2 panels, and then that's it. Here, it's literally, they kind of shoot each other a little bit. Johnny kind of talks to Zarathos, and then Mephisto comes and Deus Ex Machina the entire thing. So I was like, oh, okay. What was the point of the Hood being the Ghost Rider? Where does this story leave us? It leaves us back with the status quo. It leaves us back with Johnny being the Ghost Rider once again. So it feels like he lost his power just for a gimmick, just in an attempt to like, hey, let's do something new. Even though that's not new, Johnny has lost his powers before. But it's just, he loses his powers, and then at the end he gains his powers, and he's right back to where he started. So it kind of feels like this whole entire thing was for nothing. Especially when you think about the Hood. Because I don't know if you read the latest Werewolf by Night that came out last week, but I did. And guess who's in it? The Hood. The Hood's in it. And not only is he in it, but he is just fine. He has his hood, along with all the powers that comes with the hood. He has his skin, so the skin that Mephisto rips off his face, it's grown back, I guess, magically somehow, I don't know. Maybe that series will explain it. He is no longer in hell. He's no longer a slave to hell, or at least he's no longer in hell working as a slave. He's now above ground. And I just thought that was kind of weird. I mean, one, you're spoiling the finale for here by having the Hood show up in Werewolf by Night. Couldn't you have just put off Werewolf by Night by just one more week? It was literally just one more week. You just had to hold it off. But no. And before anyone mentions anything, the timeline is after Ghost Rider Final Vengeance, because not only does the Hood make references to his time as a Ghost Rider and his time in Chicago taking on, I should say, Johnny Blaze, but the editor's note even references the fact that, hey, this takes place after Final Vengeance. So, yeah, it's just kind of weird because it's like, okay, so what happened with the Hood? Because, he's no longer the Ghost Rider. Mephisto rips his skin, sends him to hell, and now he's just fine. So it's almost like all that was for nothing. He ends up this issue in hell, but in an issue that came out the week before this issue, he's back on Earth again. So all in all, this was pointless. This was nothing. It was just, hey, here's the Hood with some powers for 6 issues, and then we're back to Johnny being the Ghost Rider, and now we're back to just everything being as it was before. Yeah, it feels like when you go through an entire season of something, at the end it's like, oh, that was all a dream. Okay, so what was the point? So yeah, I know it seems like I'm really bragging on this, and I mean, I am. I didn't hate it. I don't know, I think Benjamin did kind of the best he could with this stupid premise of the Hood getting the Ghost Rider powers, because the Hood's such a joke of a character. No matter how many times you try to make him into something, he's never going to be something. He's like not even C-list. The Hood's like he's like a Z-list villain. And I think there's so many other cooler things you could have done with Ghost Rider instead. How about the fact that his goth girlfriend is still in hell? And she didn't die. Like, she was dragged to hell while still alive. Maybe you could have done a whole miniseries where he goes into hell and fights demons in hell to try to get her back. I mean, you could have had the whole Orpheus story. For anyone unfamiliar, Greek mythology, Orpheus, he goes into the underworld, into Hades, to try to save his wife Eurydice from death. You could have done something like that where Johnny goes into hell to try to save Talia. But instead, we strip him of his powers, we give it to the Hood. The Hood causes chaos for a while, and then the Hood loses the powers and it goes back to Johnny. And yeah, I don't know. It was kind of disappointing. It feels like a waste of Benjamin Percy's talents as well as Ghost Rider. And I will just say this, we need a better editor. I don't know if it's the same editor that's with Percy when he does all his stories. If so, put a new one in when he comes to the ending of his arcs and his series. Because Benjamin Percy is good with everything except endings. He is terrible when it comes to endings, and the fact that they always come across as very anticlimactic. And I think someone needs to just kind of prod him a little bit. If I was the editor, I'll be like, dude, you gotta punch up this ending. You're built up the entire series up to this point, this final confrontation, and then you just have Mephisto Deus Ex Machina everything. And then he's done this plenty of times in the Ghost Rider run. You can watch my videos on that. I love that run, but even I complain that the endings of all the arcs were just very lackluster. So yeah, there's Ghost Rider Final Vengeance issue number 6. All in all, I thought this was kind of weak, kind of a weak ending. And as for the series in general, it was average. It's not something that I ever would have asked for. It's not something I ever want. It was something that's I feel like they did the best that they could with this story, but I rather see Johnny Blaze doing other things. Again, I think him going to hell and battling demons to try to save Talia would have been a lot cooler. But other than that, I mean, there's other stories you can tell with Ghost Rider that doesn't have to deal with him losing his powers again. So yeah, here's looking forward to the next Ghost Rider thing. Hopefully that one's a lot better. And this is basically one of those series that will be forgotten not too long into the future. It contributed nothing to the overall story or the overall Marvel universe. So It's probably best left forgotten. There you go. Hope that you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.